Every spring you buy them, a packet of tomato seed, a packet of beans, lettuce, squash, $3 here, $4 there, and by the time the beds are full, you have spent $40, $50, $60 on something that grew in your own garden last year and that you threw on the compost heap. We have not bought seed in longer than I have been here. Come inside and I will show you where it lives. This is the shelf at the back of the storeroom, out of the sun. Glass jars with paper labels, and inside them the whole of next year's garden. Beans in that one, lettuce in the small jar, tomatoes in the flat tin. Every one of them came off a plant that grew in the beds outside, and every one of them cost nothing at all. That is what I want to show you today. Not a trick, not a shortcut. The way gardens fed themselves for 12,000 years before anybody thought to sell you the same thing every March. But I am going to be straight with you from the start, because this is where most people go wrong and give up. You cannot do this with every plant in your garden. Some will give you seed that comes back exactly like the parent year after year. Some will give you seed that comes back as something you never planted and did not want. And the difference has nothing to do with whether the plant is good or organic or old-fashioned. It comes down to how the flower gets pollinated. Get that one thing straight and everything else here is easy. So let me start with what a seed actually is, because it changes how you look at your garden. A seed is not a spare part. It is a set of instructions written by two parents, and which two parents wrote it depends entirely on where the pollen came from. Some plants pollinate themselves. The flower is built so that the pollen never leaves. It falls onto its own stigma, often before the flower has even properly opened. Nothing comes in from outside. The seed that forms has one parent, effectively, and the instructions inside it are the same instructions the plant itself was working from. Plant that seed, and you get the same plant, same size, same flavor, same time of ripening. That is what people mean when they say a seed comes true. Other plants do the opposite. Their flowers are open to the world, and the pollen arrives on the wind or on the back of a bee from whatever plant of the same kind happens to be flowering nearby. Might be the one beside it. Might be one 3 gardens away. The seed that forms carries instructions from both, and you have no say in the matter. Plant it, and you get a surprise. Sometimes a pleasant one, usually not. Now hold that in your mind, because I will come back to it, and it is the whole of the method. First, let me tell you why almost nobody does this anymore, because it was not always so. For as long as there has been farming, and that is 12,000 years, not 200 saving seed was simply part of growing food. You did not sow in spring and buy in spring. You sowed in spring and harvested seed in autumn, and that seed was next spring's garden. It was not a philosophy. There was no other way to do it. The change came in the last century, and it came from a genuinely clever piece of plant breeding. If you cross 2 very different parent lines, the first generation of offspring often comes out unusually vigorous, bigger, more uniform, heavier cropping. That first generation has a name F1, the first filial generation, and you will see it printed on seed packets everywhere, and those plants really are good. I am not going to stand here and tell you otherwise. But here is the part that matters for us, that vigor lives in the first generation only. Save seed from an F1 plant and sow it, and the second generation scatters. Some tall, some short, some cropping early, some never getting there. The uniformity comes apart in your hands, which means that if you plant F1, you must come back and buy again next year. Not because anyone is cheating you, that is simply how the biology works. But it does mean the seed company has a customer for life, and that is why so much of what is on the rack is F1. Nobody conspired. A thing became easy to buy, the alternative stopped being taught, and after 2 generations, the knowledge went quiet. It is the same story as with everything else in this garden. The brother who kept this place before me used to do something every August that I did not understand for years. He walked the beds with a roll of soft wool yarn in his pocket, and every so often he stopped and tied a loop of it round a plant. Not the biggest one, not the one carrying the most fruit. He would stand there a while, looking, and then tie his loop and move on. Those plants he did not pick from. They were left to run to seed while everything around them was harvested and cleared, and they looked frankly like neglect. Somebody visiting would have thought we had run out of hands. What he was doing was choosing the parents, because that is what seed saving really is. You are not collecting a free product. You are deciding every year which plants in your garden get to write the instructions for next year's garden. Do it thoughtfully for 10 years, and you end up with a strain that suits your soil, your weather, and your corner of the world better than anything you can buy, because it has been selected in that exact place by you without you even noticing you were doing it. Do it carelessly, and you go backwards. That is the honest other half, and we will come to it. So, which plants can you take seed from, and which should you leave alone? The easy ones are the self-pollinators. Their flowers do the work inside themselves. So what you collect is what you planted. Tomatoes, beans of every kind, peas, lettuce, peppers mostly. These are the ones to start with, and between them, they cover a large part of a vegetable garden. With these, you can grow 2 varieties side by side in the same bed and still get seed that comes true. The pollen simply does not travel. That is why every book tells a beginner to start with tomatoes and beans, not because they are the most valuable, but because they are forgiving of everything else you might do wrong. Then there are the ones that cross freely, and here you need to be careful. Squash and pumpkins, cucumbers, melons. The cabbage family, cabbage, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, sprouts, beetroot, onions, sweet corn, turnips too, though those keep to their own kind. These are pollinated by insects or by wind, and their pollen travels a great deal further than most people imagine. A bee working a warm afternoon thinks nothing of crossing several gardens. 2 varieties in the same garden will cross. Your squash will cross with your neighbor's squash, and kale will cross with a cabbage or a broccoli or a sprout flowering at the same time, because botanically all of those are one and the same species wearing different clothes. The seed you collect will grow perfectly well. It will simply be something else. People have grown a bed of squash from saved seed and got fruit that was inedible, bitter, hard, nothing like either parent. You can save from these, but you need to keep the varieties apart, either by distance or by bagging the flowers by hand. And that is a different sort of gardening from what I am describing today. Leave them until you are confident with the easy ones. And there is a third group that catches people out, the 2-year plants. Carrots, onions, beetroot, parsnips, most of the cabbages. These do not flower in the year you sow them. They spend the first year making the root or the head you eat, and only in the second spring do they run up, flower, and set seed. So to save carrot seed, you must leave carrots in the ground over winter, let them flower the following year, and collect from that. Perfectly doable. But you cannot simply pull a carrot in autumn and expect seed from it. And a lot of people try once, get nothing, and conclude the whole business does not work. Now, choosing the plant to save from. This is the part that separates seed saving from seed collecting. Walk the bed while everything is still growing, and pick your parent early before harvest tempts you. Mark it a loop of wool, a stick, whatever you have, so that you or somebody else does not absent-mindedly pick it. Choose the plant that behaved the way you want next year's plants to behave, not the one with the single biggest fruit. Look for the one that stayed healthy while others got mildew, the one that cropped steadily rather than all at once. the one that did not run to flower in the first hot week, the one whose flavor you actually preferred and never saved from the runt, the sickly one, or the one that bolted early, even if it is the only one that sets seed. You would be choosing exactly the qualities you do not want. Take from more than one plant, if you can. 3 or 4 of the same variety is far better than one. Seed from a single plant, repeated over several years, gradually narrows the pool and the strain loses vigor. Gardeners call it inbreeding depression, and it is one of the real reasons people gave up on saving seed. 4 parents instead of 1 every year, and you avoid it entirely. Then let it finish. This is the hard part for a tidy gardener, because the plant has to go past the point where it looks presentable. Beans and peas stay on the plant until the pods are brown, dry, and rattling. Lettuce runs up into a tall stalk and turns to fluff, like a dandelion. Tomatoes need to be properly ripe, riper than you would want to eat, soft in the hand. The seed is not finished when the vegetable is ready. It is finished when the plant says so. If this is proving useful to you, do me the kindness of subscribing. I put out what I have learned in this garden every week, and I would be glad of your company. Now, where was I? Yes, getting the seed out, which differs depending on whether it comes wet or dry. The dry ones are simple, and they are most of them. Beans and peas, leave the pods on the plant until they are brown and brittle, and you can hear the seed rattle when you shake them. If the weather turns wet and threatens to sprout them on the stem, pull the whole plant and hang it upside down somewhere airy under cover. Then shell them by hand. Lettuce is fussier only because the seed is small. When the head has run up and gone to fluff, hold a paper bag around the top and shake, or bend the stalk into the bag and rub it between your fingers. You will get seed and a great deal of chaff together. Tip the lot onto a plate and blow across it gently. The chaff lifts, the seed stays. Do it outdoors unless you enjoy sweeping. Peppers are the easiest of the lot. Let the fruit go fully colored and slightly soft. Cut it open, scrape the seed onto a plate and dry it. Tomatoes are the one that needs a proper method, and it is worth doing properly. Each tomato seed sits in a little jelly sack, and that jelly is there to stop the seed germinating inside the fruit. If you simply scrape seed onto paper and dry it, the jelly hardens around it, and the seed germinates poorly next spring. So we take it off the way nature does. We let it rot. Take your ripe tomato, squeeze the seed and pulp into a jar, and add a splash of water, not much. Leave the jar somewhere warm, out of the way, for 3 or 4 days. Do not put a tight lid on it. It will grow a film of mold on top and it will smell. That is correct. That is the process working. After 3 or 4 days, fill the jar with water and stir it. The good heavy seed sinks to the bottom. The pulp, the mold, and the hollow dud seeds float. Pour off everything that floats. Fill it again, stir, pour off again, 2 or 3 times, and what remains is clean seed at the bottom. Tip that into a fine sieve, rinse it, and spread it out to dry. Now drying, which is where most saved seed is actually lost. Spread the seed in a single layer on a plate, a pane of glass, a ceramic tile, something that will not stick. Not on kitchen paper, or you will spend an evening picking seeds out of the fibers, somewhere warm but out of direct sun, with air moving. A shelf indoors is ideal. Not an airing cupboard, not near a stove, and never in an oven. Ordinary room warmth is exactly right. Sustained heat much above that starts to damage the living embryo inside, and you will not know until nothing comes up in April. Give it a week or 2, and stir it once a day so it dries evenly. You know it is dry when a bean or a pea shatters rather than dents under a hammer, and when a small seed like lettuce snaps rather than bends. Anything that still gives is still holding water, and water in a stored seed means mold by January. Then store it. And there are 3 enemies: damp, heat, and light. Paper envelopes inside a glass jar with a tight lid is what we use and what I would recommend. The paper lets each variety breathe and settle. The jar keeps the damp out. Plastic bags on their own are the worst of all worlds because any moisture left in the seed has nowhere to go. Keep the jar somewhere cool, dark, and steady. A cellar, a north-facing cupboard, a storeroom like this one, not a greenhouse, not a shed that bakes in summer and freezes in winter. The swinging between the two is worse for seed than either extreme. And label everything as you put it away, not later. Variety and the year. Every gardener who has ever skipped this has stood in March holding an unmarked envelope of small brown seed, and every one of them has sown it hoping and got cabbage where they wanted turnip. Seed does not last forever, and how long depends on what it is. Beans and peas will give you 3 or 4 good years. Tomatoes and lettuce often more. Onions and parsnips are notoriously short-lived, a year, maybe 2, and after that most of them will not come up at all, which is why the year on the label matters, and why there is one small job worth doing every February. Take 10 seeds from the jar you are unsure about. Lay them on a damp piece of kitchen paper, fold it over, put it in a plastic bag somewhere warm, and look at it after a week or 10 days. Count how many have sprouted. 8 out of 10 and that seed is fine, sow it as normal. 5 out of 10 and it will still work, but sow it twice as thickly, 2 or 3, and throw it away and start that variety again from a bought packet. 10 seeds in 10 minutes in February saves you an empty bed in May, and an empty bed in May cannot be recovered. Let me save you the 4 ways this goes wrong. The first, and by far the most common, saving from an F1 packet. Look at the packet you sowed from. If it says F1 or hybrid, do not bother, the seed will grow, but the plants will be a scattered mess. Save from varieties described as open pollinated or heirloom. Those are the ones that come true. The second, saving from the wrong sort of plant without knowing it. Squash, cucumbers, and anything in the cabbage family will cross with whatever else was flowering nearby, and you will not find out until the following summer. Start with tomatoes, beans, peas, and lettuce until you have a season or 2 behind you. The third, storing seed that is not properly dry. It is the quiet killer, because everything looks fine in October and the jar is full of mold by February. When you think it is dry, give it another few days. And the fourth, saving from one plant only, year after year. The strain narrows and weakens, 3 or 4 parents each time, and this never happens to you. Now let me be straight with you, because I am not selling a miracle out of a storeroom. Bought seed has one real advantage. It is clean. Commercial seed is tested and treated, and some diseases travel on the seed itself. If a crop of yours was badly hit by disease this year, do not save from it. You will carry that trouble into next season. Take that variety fresh and start again. This also will not save you much money in the first year. A packet of seed is $2 or $3, and if you grow 6 things, you have spent perhaps 20. Nobody retires on that. What it gives you, year after year, is independence from the rack, and a strain that quietly gets better suited to your ground with every season. That second part is worth more than the money, but it is slow, and I would rather tell you that now than have you feel misled in October. And it is a little more work. Not much an afternoon in late summer, a week of drying, an hour with jars. But it is work at the time of year when you are already busy, and that is why most people mean to do it and then do not. So, short and plain, start with tomatoes, beans, peas, and lettuce. They pollinate themselves and come true. Leave squash, cucumbers, and the cabbage family until later because they cross. Remember that carrots, onions, and beetroot only set seed in their second year. Choose your parent plants while they are still growing. Mark them and pick the healthy, steady ones rather than the biggest. Take from 3 or 4 plants, not 1. Let them go well past eating ripeness. Ferment tomato seed in a jar of water for 3 days. Then wash it clean. Dry everything in a single layer, warm, out of the sun, until it shatters rather than bends. Store in paper inside a sealed jar, somewhere cool and dark, labeled with the variety and the year, and test 10 seeds in February before you rely on them. Do that, and next March you will not be standing at the rack at all. You will be standing at a shelf, in your own house, choosing from the plants that did best for you this year. Go out this week and look at what is still standing in your beds. There is a bean somewhere out there with brown pods on it, and that is where this starts. And tell me below, because I read everything you write, is there a plant you have grown from your own seed for years? I would like to know what it is and how long it has been going. Next time I will show you the one bed we never dug and what happened to the soil because of it. The garden gate is always open. Come and walk with me again.